Hi there, and welcome to a very special Insomnia Insight episode. Coach Michelle is with us. Welcome back.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been a little while, so I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I know. As we mentioned, it's been a while, but yep, exactly. It says super cool you're here. And for those who are wondering what we're going to talk about, this is for you, especially if you're struggling with sleep and you have to or want to sleep outside of your bedroom bed, or you're doing well right now, but you're worried about when you'll have to sleep outside your bedroom, or whenever that happens, you have kind of a speed bump situation. So those are the topics. But before we go there, something really exciting to share with everyone, which is that Coach Michelle now has her own website, hopefulmind.com.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really excited about it. I just recently launched my own coaching practice, The Hopeful Mind. So just like you're sharing, you can find me at hopefulmind.com. And I'm focused on offering one-on-one coaching for anybody who is struggling with insomnia.
And you have a bundle, right?
Yes, I also have a package as well if people want to work with me more in the long term. So I'm very excited about it. So I hope it's very helpful for people.
Yeah. It's been, I'm so glad that, it's out there because, as you know, Michelle, it took a while. It took a while, right?
It took a long while. Yes, it's been in the works for the past year, I would say, at least. And it definitely took a while. I feel like these things there's always a little bit more work than you think there is.
Yeah.
And but I'm really happy with how it came together. I really put my heart into starting this business and into the website itself. And so I hope that comes through because it really was a labor of love.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Wow. And you designed it yourself?
Yes, I did have help. I did have help. So my husband, who works in the digital marketing space, was helping me with this, but we did it ourselves completely. So and there's a lot that goes into that. I had never done anything like that before. So going into what photos and copywriting, how I wanted to tell the story on the site, all these types of things. So it was really fun. Parts of it were really, really fun, and other parts, like getting into the tech, is parts that I'm not as comfortable with. And as you know, so there were challenges, but also it was a really fun experience too.
Wow. Yeah, that's super nice. And I just, random thoughts came to me. Sometimes we joke about how, like, I think I speak for you and other people as well, but definitely for myself, I'm so glad that there are people out there who understand tech, who can do that work, because I mean, I could not do it for the life of me. And I'm so happy that it's possible to help people by just educating, talking, pondering, like, absorbing emotions, things like that, which a lot of tech people would probably be like, I could never do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same. I can't imagine not being able to have any tech support. Even just thinking that just like makes me sweat. So ooh, I'm very grateful for that as well because I want to learn, but I don't really want to go super deep on that
Yeah,
front.
yeah,
It's really really not my thing. So I want to know what I'm doing, but at the same time get help from people who really really know what they're doing.
exactly right.
Yeah.
All right. So with that said, let's jump into our topic today. So I wrote the things I mentioned in the intro, briefly down. Like, one is I'm struggling with sleep and have to want to sleep outside my bedroom, and the other one is I'm no longer struggling with sleep, kind of generally speaking, except for when I do sleep
Yeah.
outside my bedroom. So with that said, when you hear this one, Michelle, or somebody approaches you and says, I'm struggling with sleep, and there's this kind of extra pressure when I have to, or I'm worried about going places and things like that. What comes to my mind, and what do you think is helpful for them?
Yeah. Well, that's a really common question. I think everybody experiences this because so many of us, especially when we're going through our insomnia, we may not even feel comfortable leaving our bedroom. We're very much in our own space. A lot of us have stopped living in various ways because we're very concerned and trying to protect sleep. And so it's just normal for us to be in a recovery process, but mostly in our comfort zone is really, and so as we move along with our recovery, and a part of that is living life that we would like to be in a way that we like to be living again. And sometimes that includes travel or sharing a bed with a partner again, being able to stay at a friend's place, whatever it is that's going to inevitably make it so that we have to move out of our comfort zone of our bedroom to be able to do that thing. And I think that inevitably can create stress for people because we're like, well, wait, I know I'm okay in my bed now, but I don't know if I'm okay over here. And that part of our brain that has learned fear, even if it's not really that much there anymore around sleep and insomnia and all of this, it may not know that moving out of your comfort zone is totally safe either. And just like it had to learn that it's safe and okay in your bed, it needs to go through a bit of a process to learn that it's also safe and okay for you to travel, sleep beside a partner, be outside of your bed in general, essentially. So I'll pause there, but I think it's that there's some learning that needs to happen on that level too, and that's normal and okay as part of it. So I think if that that's part of things, it can be a little bit helpful.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So nicely said. And to me, as you were speaking, what came to mind was this like courage and kindness,
Mm-hmm.
aspects of this, that when
Right.
there's something you want to do, courage helps. Like having the courage to say, like, yeah, I'm afraid of sleeping, next to my partner, which I have avoided for a while. I'm afraid of that, but I know I want to do that. And having the courage to do it, even if we're afraid, is really helpful because we're kind of teaching the brain that there is no real danger. Just by doing it, we could kind of signal to the brain we're doing it even though we're afraid, which means that to some level we understand it is not dangerous, and then that can be really helpful. But then the kindness also, that if we push ourselves really, really hard and we're like, no, you have to do this so you get over this, so you're not scared anymore, then it's too much pressure. So being gentle and kind with yourself and being like, okay, I know this is helpful to me, but I don't have to do it now. I can do it when it feels right. Also really, really helpful, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point because I think sometimes as well people can feel like, okay, well, I've got to plan that big trip and I've got to get back and sleeping beside my partner and I've got to be doing, and it's like everything all at once and it can feel like too much. So that leading with that self-kindness can be very helpful to know that you don't have to force yourself through everything all at once. It's okay to go at a pace that feels right. And one other thing that I think can help a lot as well is to connect to the purpose of whatever it is that you're doing, right? Why are you doing that? If it's a trip, what are you excited about with that trip, right? Maybe it's making new memories or seeing somebody you haven't seen in a while, and really, really connect to that part of it before and during and even after can help reframe a little bit around, okay, this is why I'm doing this. This is important to me, and I'm going to kind of move in that direction. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Very nicely said. And I wanted to actually take an opportunity to share something, kind of discuss it with you actually, that I've never shared it before anywhere. So this is brand new,
Yes.
some brand new teaching. But no, but in all seriousness, what happened was, I think it was some comment on the YouTube channel where somebody said, "Hey, Daniel, like it was sort of this one, like I'm not actually, generally speaking, I'm not struggling with sleep, except when I have this trip or something, I have to go somewhere." And this question was actually very insightful because they said, a lot of what we teach is that, when we sort of expose ourselves to what we're afraid of, then we're teaching the brain it's okay. And that can be really helpful. But she said, but I rarely go on a trip. It happens like, a couple of times a year or here and there. So how can I like expose myself to that, when it happens rarely? And
Mhm.
here's what and then I pondered that and I was thinking, oh, that's a great point. But then I was like, but in reality, what we're often really trying to avoid is maybe not necessarily the trip itself, but what we always try to escape is our fear, right? The
Yeah.
fear is always what we want to get away from. So I was thinking, oftentimes there's not a lack of anxiety in our lives. There's always something we're worried about, something we're scared about. And so my thinking was like, if we make it sort of a habit to like, whenever we're scared, whenever we're anxious, we can take that as an opportunity for exposure, right? We can expose
Oh,
ourselves to that fear, and then automatically, that helps with all fears. So we can sort of prepare ourselves for that one by using, emotions that we have kind of on a day-to-day basis, or that pop up here and there. But so I never talked about this before, so it's a little weird. I mean, it's kind of unprepared, but what do you think when you hear that, Michelle?
couldn't agree more. I think the best practice for any kind of this internal work that we talk about is daily life. It's like, don't worry, daily life will give you what you need. You don't have to manufacture anything. It will come, because you're alive. It's going to come. And that's for all of us. So I completely agree that the idea of experiencing fear in day-to-day life and practicing how you meet that, how you move through that, you might still experience fear when you go on that trip. But because you've been going through and building capacity with yourself in your day-to-day life, you'll just be better at being with it. And I think that's what all this is all about. We're never talking about, okay, we're going to make sure you never feel anxious, right? It's more about, how do we get better at being with that? How do we become okay with whatever the present moment is presenting us? And that is, a practice in and of itself. So I completely agree. I think daily life is really the ideal training ground for
Right.
most of everything, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said. And now, actually, I sort of just have kind of one thing in my mind. I think we talked I think hopefully our community agrees with us in a hopeful way about much of this. But one thing that we may not have addressed is this: when people are in a place of like not necessarily seeing things getting better, but they're like, I'm really struggling right now,
Yeah.
and I still have to go on these trips, or I for work I have to go, and I'm really in this struggle. Anything apart from what we shared for that person?
Yeah, well, I get that, especially when you said, for work. A lot of times that's a common one. I have to go on this work trip, or I have to do this thing that's bringing me out of my comfort zone. I have to do it. And I think we all have variations of that, whether it's travel or not, anything that's bringing you outside the comfort zone that you are used to. And I think a lot of the times we all wish, I know I did, that you wish you could just hit the pause button on all of life while you're recovering from insomnia, but none of us can. And so I think realizing that these things that show up in our life are not these like external disruptions that are then going to knock us out of our recovery process. They are part of your recovery process. And I think reframing it that way and including it as part of your recovery process is much more helpful. And then kind of coming back to the basics as you're going through that experience, as opposed to kind of feeling like, oh, this ruined my recovery, or this
Yeah.
shouldn't be happening right now. Whatever the story is, it's just a story. And can you include it in your recovery?
Wow. Yeah. Super nicely said, and very little to add. It was, as you were speaking, what came to my mind was that, in the scenario where things are easier and we have this trip, and we kind of choose to take this trip. It's like we choose courage in a way.
Yeah.
That's nice. It's nice to be in that place, but often we don't have the choice. Things are going to come. Scary things are going to happen to us, not by choice, but by fact of life. But kind of meeting them in the same way with as much willingness as we can, still is what helps, right?
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Just like you said, we might not be choosing the event, the thing that's happening to us in life, but we can still choose courage and
Yeah.
self-kindness along
Yeah.
in whatever the situation.
Well said. So perfect time to conclude, and I'll just say, hopefully that will helpful to anyone in traveling or thinking about traveling or sleeping outside their bedroom. And thanks for being guest today, Michelle. We should do
Yeah,
this more often.
yeah, of course. Anytime. It's great to be here.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.